Episode 267 of the HHH Racing Podcast is brought to you by Hawthorne Racecourse. Hawthorne Racecourse, Chicagoland's hometown track. And now, let's start episode 267 of the HHH Racing Podcast.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.
Good evening and welcome to episode 267 of the HHH Racing Podcast. I am your proud host, Howard Kravitz. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. We've got a lot of things to discuss. Not only a big night tonight, as we're going to talk about Haskell Preview Day coming up this Saturday at Monmouth Park, and also the Hawthorne Late Pick 4 with the wonderful Jim Miller. But we've got some very exciting news to tell you about next week, because next week's shows on this YouTube channel are going to be absolutely loaded. I can't wait to tell you all about it. Please make sure you subscribe on the bottom right-hand side of the screen. After you do that, hit that notification bell so that you know when new content will arise, and smash, and I mean smash, that like button. That will tell the YouTube algorithm, the YouTube robot, hey people, come to the HHH Racing Podcast because we're cool. So go there. So please hit that like button. We'd greatly appreciate that. You can follow me on Twitter at HKravitz. You can see on my name tag scrolling on the bottom of the screen to my email, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Now, right now, as you see scrolling on the bottom of the screen right now, you see a whole bunch of dates. Let's talk about that first right now. Next week, we have four live podcasts, including two of them as races are going on. First of all, Monday night, you'll see it scrolling on the bottom of the screen. Monday night, 8 p.m. will be, these are Eastern times, will be our Canterbury Park Northern Stars Turf Festival preview night, where we're going to preview 5 stake races that are happening next Wednesday night at Canterbury Park for a huge day of racing. Next Tuesday, that's going to be the 20th of June, 9:15 in the morning, Eastern Standard Time. We'll be live with Davey Lane and many others covering the first 4 races of Ascot, day 1 of the Royal Ascot meet. 3 Group 1s and a Group 2. We're going to kick off your Royal Ascot meet the way we should, with some great advice from Davey Lane, who's going to be live from the UK. He's one of the best punters out there, or handicappers. He's been on the show many times. Then Wednesday night, very exciting show. Bettin and Boozin will be here, but with a twist. It's going to start at 8:30 Wednesday. And by the way, if you are on our email list, I will send you all this information. If you're not on our email list, please email me, hkravitzhorse@gmail.com. Again, look at the scroll at the bottom of the screen, and I'll be happy to put you on the email list. Next Wednesday, Bettin and Boozin will be live covering Canterbury Park's last 3 stakes of their big night, and yours truly will be live at Canterbury Park reporting, bringing you the action there from the paddock, from the winner's circle, with trainers, jockeys. I can't wait. I'm really excited. You should absolutely stay tuned to this channel for Wednesday, June 21st at night. Bettin and Boozin plus live from Canterbury Park. I'll be the reporting. Can't wait for that. And then Thursday night is our usual flagship show at 8 p.m. So again, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, we have live racing going on this channel. Please spread the word. Next week's going to be off the chain. You don't want to miss it. All right. Listen to our podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Anchor. Power Picks, look below the video player. I'm going to have a special Power Picks edition for people that subscribe new. If you newly subscribe between now and the 20th of June, Tuesday, I will send you a special Power Picks edition just for the Canterbury Park uh, Turf Festival of Racing on Wednesday night. So, again, sign up for the Power Picks, subscribe. You can do that through Patreon. Look below the video player. We've got a great website that Pete Visco, our co-host, has been continually creating, and he's put some new pictures up from our trips in New York and other information. Please check that out. All right, I think that takes care of everything. Real quick through the comments. Speaking of Minnesota horse racing, hello. I will be up there Wednesday. Very excited to do that. TF is watching this on a 75-inch TV. Wow, much better than a laptop. Sorry you have to see this mug so big, but we've got some more pretty looking co-hosts coming on that will look better on a 75-inch. And no doubt, Ross Blacker, Davy Lane legend, tipped out 60-1 shot on this show 2 years ago. Davy Lane will be live with us on Wednesday. Very excited about that. All right, let's bring on my co-host. Let's reverse it. First, from the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and the Saratoga Special, and author of an upcoming book about Cody's Wish, title not to be named yet, but we're very excited about Paul's ventures with Godolphin and the Dorman family. Let's bring him on, Mr. Paul Halloran. And from the East Coast of Maryland, Mr. Pete Visco. Gentlemen, I decided to go old school with just, remember the old green background? I said, you know what, let's change things up and just go old school. How are you guys doing tonight?
Excellent. Go ahead, Paul.
Very good.
What do you got?
Great. Very good, Pete. How are you?
I'm excellent. It's good to see everybody. It's good we're on a TF. We're on a 75-inch TV, apparently.
Yeah.
So that's makes us, I mean, Paul's used to that, obviously, with his newfound stardom, but the rest of us, we're not used to being live on TV like that.
I mean, if you saw my tweet, you know how Paul's rolling these days with the
Yeah.
Paul, I think you'd like that. You'd like that.
That was excellent. That was good. That was good.
People have no idea what we're talking about, especially those of you that are on listening platform. Go check out, if you follow me on Twitter, @HKravitz, please check that out, because I found a video that's very apropos for Paul Halloran right now, because he is styling and profiling, and there was sort of a funny video that I sent out that I thought everyone would appreciate. Guys, we got a lot to talk about. I already prepped what's going on next week. I know both of you will be a part of that. I'm really excited. I know Paul, we'll have to wake Paul up, because I'm not sure how much he's been able to handle. But guys,
the Ascot races are good for me. I'm good in the morning.
Okay, cool. So Paul,
You'll
Paul
be up.
will
You'll
there.
be up. What, 4 or 5 hours at that point? You know, you get up at 3:30, 4 o'clock.
You guys know who's running the opener at Royal Ascot? Race 1?
Modern Games, perhaps?
Modern Games will be running. I'll be trying to beat him, but we'll see what David Lane has to say. Fantastic racing. There are several Americans that are running throughout the short meet there at Royal Ascot. It's going to be tremendous. And then Wednesday night, guys. Whoa. Wednesday night, for the first time on this show, I know, Paul, you were live at the Penn Derby last year. I'll be live at Canterbury Park in the paddock in the winner's circle. Jeff Madej, the media relations director at Canterbury, is going to do a great job for us. Hoping to interview some trainers and owners after the race as well. Maybe talk to some people before the race. Maybe talk to fans. I don't know. It's going to be very interesting from a technical standpoint. I'll have my laptop and my phone. It's going to be fun. Kyle Roscoe from Bettin Boozin will be the actual host, but of course you guys will be helping out as well if you can make it. So anyway, Wednesday night's going to be really exciting. Guys, enough blabbing. We've got, you know what, Paul? I wore your yellow shirt you gave me today as I went on a walk through the park. I can't prove that, but I did. So it was great. I love that shirt. Guys, Monmouth and Haskell Preview Day. It's a great card. I thought a very difficult card. I don't know your guys' impression, but wow, the field sizes aren't tremendously huge, but I just thought this was a really tough card. So you know what? Let's just jump right in right now, as I am not ready for it, but I will be here in just a second. All right, guys, here we go. Let's get to it right now. There we go. All right, let me take the banner off the screen, And also, let me put on some other more important banners like our picks that people are interested. There we go. First race of the late pick 5 on Saturday at Monmouth Park for Haskell Preview Day. It's race 10. You can see the time, about 4:45 Eastern. It is the Pegasus Stakes. No, not the Pegasus World Cup. Don't get confused. This is the Pegasus Stakes. It's basically the prep for the Haskell. It's a mile and 16th, restricted for 3-year-olds only. It's a field of 8, bookend by 2 very good pletchers, especially the one on the outside. You got Kingsbar. It's coming back from the Derby, 8-5 Moonlight favor for Pletcher and Saez. And as I look on the screen, there is one person on this panel that does not believe in Kingsbarns. It is moi, although I could be very wrong. Pete, let's go to you first. You're going with Kingsbarns on top, a classy animal who's got speed from the outside with Saez.
Yeah, I mean, if you just go by class, it's one of those fields, and I think we talk about this a lot, so it might help with how how some of our viewers or listeners actually bet the race, or at least in their horizontals. It's one of those where if you think Kings Barnes lays over the field, you single them. If you don't like Kings Barnes, I feel like you can go with maybe 3 or 4 or 5 other horses that could win the race. So you don't want to go deep and include Kings Barnes. So you either have to toss him, I think, or single him. So for my purposes, I went with the single, and it's purely based on class. I mean, he lays over this field. If you even in the Derby, as bad as he finished, I mean, he was second, sitting off a extremely hot pace. And he faded. He couldn't handle it. But in this race, he's not going to have to deal with anything like that. He has the ability from the outside to sit off the speed, or he could be the speed if he needs to, if nobody else goes. So he's versatile enough. And I think if you didn't see that Derby line, he'd be like 3-5, I think, on the morning line. So I think class-wise, he just sort of sits over the field. Not that he's guaranteed to win, but again, I think you either single him or you sort of spread and try to beat him.
Yeah, Paul, let me just get your quick opinion, then I have a few questions to toss your way, because as you guys can see, I'm going to try to beat him. I only have him in 3rd. But before I give my reasons, Paul, why don't you talk a little about Kings Barnes, and what do you think will be at post time, Paul? Odds.
I think he'll be odds on, Howard. I think he'll be under even money, probably 3-5, 4-5. I picked him, but I got to tell you, and my ABCs will reflect this. From a gambling point of view, you're supposed to try to beat this horse in this race. So you, Howard, have the right idea. The reason for that is any horse coming off the Derby trail and the Derby itself is going to be overbet. And now you throw in the fact that it's a Pletcher who, as Pete very wisely points out, really didn't run that badly and was training very well going into the Derby. I was out there in the mornings. He looked really good in the mornings. Having said all that, again, from a you got to hit it if he wins, but strictly from a gambling point of view, you're supposed to try to beat this horse.
So, guys, here's my concerns, and let me just say this out front. This could be one of the worst handicapping opinions I have in a long time, putting this horse in 3rd, because he might just win by 6 and just run off the screen, and I could look like a complete idiot, which wouldn't be the first time. That's okay. Guys, I have a few concerns I want to bring up. The work tab. I'm sure you guys looked at this as astute handicappers, right? Okay, it's the Derby. Obviously, they wanted to give him a break. That's fine. He doesn't have a published work for a month. And although his works are in consecutive weeks, they are very, very slow. Either one of you want to comment on that point?
Well, they're slow, Howard. Remember, that was a training track as opposed to main track. So they're going to be a little slower. But I made note of that. I think you're on the right track.
Pete, am I giving too much credence to that?
No, definitely a concern. I mean, I'm with you. I think I'm going to agree with probably everything you say by the time you're done. I think it's if the field came up even just a touch better, I think you could make a really good case to beat this horse. But I'll let you go on. But I don't know if there's it might be tough just from a class standpoint. That's my only concern.
Yeah, no question. Here's point number 2, 112 early time form, right, guys? To me, there is a decent amount of speed. Now, he is the speed of the speed, but the 7 wants to be forward. The 6 absolutely wants to be forward. Is not proven. I don't know if you guys watched the last race of Subrogate. We're not going to talk about this horse too much, although Pete would have him third. He was sort of rank, and I have a feeling he has to go. Just my gut feeling based on watching him. The 3 has no chance, but will go just to mess up the race. The 2 could probably stalk, and then the 1 is obviously going to come from behind. So I think there is some speed in the race. I guess my question is this field so bad that he could just lay off the speed and just roll by anyway? Because I think he's better on the lead. I know he won his second start, but he came up the rail, and that was an awful field. And these are better horses than he faced in the second start of his career. So any concern with the race flow?
I don't, because I think he might be a little bit better sitting off, only because I mean, he could do both, obviously, but that Louisiana Derby was more of the outlier where I think he can do what he might have to do here, was he just inherited the lead and then just ran around the, we always talked about that when it was as slow as you could possibly get. But I think he inherited that, and I think but I think he's comfortable enough. And again, it's a maiden special weight. It's an optional claiming 75. So usually if you're just talented, you could do either thing against those kind of horses. But I think he could sit off comfortably. And I don't think Saez is going to be dumb enough to get him into some suicidal pace meltdown with the 6, or because I think the 6 is going to go. So I think if the 6 actually breaks and goes, I feel like Saez just sits right off and then just goes. When he's ready, he just takes him on the, he takes him and he gets on his hip and he sort of passes him. And then you see if somebody's going to run him down, which I think will be tough.
Yeah. In the comment, we got a lot of people watching. We appreciate everyone watching. And if you're going to be listening to this later on our audio channels, please answer this question below the video player. But if you're watching live, put it in the chat. Your confidence level, those of you at home listening and watching, 1 out of 10, 10 being super duper confident, 1 being extremely uneasy. Your confidence level of Kings Barnes winning this race on Saturday. Again, 10 is super duper confident. 1 is very, very uneasy and just not sure at all. Please type that in the comments. And also below the video player, if you listen to this in audio, I'd be very curious. Guys, my other point, then we're going to move on. This has got to be a prep for something else, right? I mean, it's got to be. Therefore, maybe not cranked. I don't know. Maybe I'm switching.
The Haskell, right? Well, are you going to talk? You have the 4 on top. You didn't really. Is there a reason, or that was just the one you think is the best of the rest?
I tell you what, I put all the numbers in a hat, Pete, and I shuffled it up.
I mean,
I just no. I'll get to my 4 in a second.
Plus, with Rosario picking him up, he might be in 8th, and so you'll be looking for he'll be riding him like he's Zenyatta at some point.
This is a prep for the Haskell, I assume. I don't know.
Well, Haskell, Jim Dandy, Travers, all of the above, right?
We've got 10 from Ross. Christine Race has a 4. Minnesota Horse Racing 8. David's 5. So I wouldn't say overwhelming.
Not a lot of confidence. No.
By people at home.
One thing I think is interesting, Howard, and it's interesting because they're both trained by Pletcher, but with different owners. I expect one to be ridden much more aggressively in this spot than he has been the last 2 races.
Yeah, I like the Paco pickup, Paul. Do you like the Paco pickup?
Well, for that purpose, I don't like Paco at all because I think he's
I just mean more from an aggressiveness standpoint.
100%. And, he kind of owns Monmouth and knows how to ride Monmouth, et cetera, et cetera. I just think, and again, what's interesting about it is they're both Pletchers. So I'm not suggesting they're going to go into a speed duel.
No.
But I would be pretty sure the 1 is not going to be, 6th, 7th, 8th early in this race.
Well, I mean, he's a proper. I'm surprised you guys don't have him a little bit higher. Maybe I just have Pletcher love right now, but he's a proper 2-turn horse. I mean, the Peter Pan was a 1-turn mile in 8th. He didn't want that, in my opinion. I thought he ran okay in the Wood. And 3 back, he won an optional 75 going. This is, to me, a 2-turn horse. I don't think he's impossible if they heat it up. There's just aren't a lot of closers in this race. Real quick, but the 4, and then you guys can finish on anything else you'd like to say. Here's my deal with the 4, guys. Salute the stars. By the way, does Cox have a lot of horses in his stable or what? It's unbelievable. These candy rides develop later in their career out of a Malibu Moon mare. I think this horse can get better as they go longer and as he gets older. Now, this race is not long in the last race. Maybe he's just a dirt horse, guys. He does have turf breeding, but I watched his last race. I thought he moved very, very well on the dirt at Churchill. He was in behind horses. He split. He's been working really well, guys. I mean, I know it's Churchill, but it's a minute. I mean, and 1/5 breezing. I don't know. I got a feeling this horse is tactical. Has got a lot of upside, and if I'm trying to beat the 8, this is the one I want to do it with. I don't think Classic Catch the 1 is better than this 4 actually. I think this 4's got a lot of upside, and he's the only one in this race, guys, that I think you can get a decent price that I feel like will run well. So that's my thought there, Pete. Any final thoughts on this horse or anyone else, guys, that you like to tout?
I like this. I mean, I have this one in second. I like,
yep.
Yeah, I guess the concerns you would have was, one, it was an off the turf race. So, you always worry about the quality. Yeah. It looked like a weak field, just looking back at it. He ran on Lasix. He ran his best race on Lasix, which, I always pay attention to that. And then I don't know if there was reasoning. It struck me as weird, and it's actually in the comments too, I noticed after the fact, was that Giroux was riding the 2 instead of, I think the 2, right? Riding the 2 instead of the 4, which was a little surprising to me. And they have Rosario up.
I'm a little confused. I'm saying, you're saying Giroux rode the 4 last time, and now he's on the 2.
Well, and Giroux's Cox's guy usually. So I'd
have to look at the stats of Rosario. I don't want to take the time to look at it, but that's a fair point. I'm not gonna.
I mean, I don't think that's a negative or positive. I just thought it was weird, and I didn't really know if there was any sort of reasoning behind it.
Paul, any other thoughts in this race? You want to talk about the 7 or anything else, or just move on?
No, I think you can make a good point with the 4, Howard. It is a little, 3-year-old to start him on turf right off the bat, especially Cox. Well, actually, no, it was Ortiz early, so that might be the reason for the change. Yeah. I could see a scenario where he wins the race. I would say that.
I think he started on turf that early in his career because they want to go long, and there's probably more turf races, and he's got some turf breeding. So I don't. Yeah.
But even when Cox's first time with them, he tried to run him on turf. That was a turf race that got taken off.
He did. So there's some question marks. So I'm taking a stab. There's no doubt I'm taking a stab here. Arif Hossein. I hope I'm pronounced that correctly. What's up, Arif? I believe you're new to the show. Thanks for joining the show.
Welcome.
Really appreciate it. We also have someone else I don't believe I've seen before, Irene Bertoni. Irene, how are you this evening? I'm very confident with the 8. I haven't really handicapped these races yet, but I've been a Kingsbarn fan all along. So anyway, we're going to move along, guys. Kingsbarns is going to be very tough to beat. I might be I'm using him, obviously. I don't know. I just have a few questions. Maybe he's just going to roll. Let's go to the next race, guys. The next race, as I go ahead and switch the banners, there we go. The next race is the Eaton Town. Grade 3 on the turf. Mile 16th, filly mares, 3-year-olds and up. I thought this was absolutely wide open, guys. And the board reflects it. I thought this may be the toughest race of the sequence. You've got 8 horses, and other than the 7, you have Moorline horses between 3-1 and 8-1 in their odds, and I have no idea. Well, I suppose the 8's going to be the favorite, but this is a very tough race. Gio Romantica is coming off the Queen's Elizabeth Stakes last year, the QE2 at Keeneland for Chad and Drew. Chad also has the number 3 consumer spending with Camacho. It's a very interesting jockey musical chairs there that we need to talk about. Paul, let's go to you. You are going with one of the Chads, and Pete's going with the other Chad, and of course I'm being contrarian, going with neither Chad. Paul, consumer spending, very logical, very nice horse.
Yeah, and a lot of it's to do with the company she's been keeping, with the Moonlight twice, and frankly, we watched market segmentation run very, very well at Belmont over the weekend. Yeah. So I do think this horse is in form, second off the layoff. Although, as you said with Chad, it doesn't matter first or second. Ran respectably in the Belmont Oaks last year, lost to a Chad and to a Euro with the Moonlight. I do agree with you, though, Howard, as far as the openness of the race. There's some wild cards we'll get to. I think Clement's horse is a big wild card. Chad's other horse on the outside could sit a trip. So, he's my tepid pick in a wide open race.
There are a ton of horses in this race, Paul, and we'll scroll down, that have buyers between 87 to 91, like 5 or 6 of them. Is this race in general, would you recommend to people that are listening and watching, Paul, that you have a top pick, but you maybe watch the board, and if you like to play simple win bets, you really need to base it on what the board says as opposed to your original opinion, just because it's a wide open race?
Yes and no. I'm less inclined to do that in a race with veterans like this. And the fact that there are so many. Now, if I think what you're saying is if someone takes a predominance of the money, that could tell you something, because we're looking at it like the money should be spread out over 4 or 5. So I think that's valid, but you might like a horse in this race that's 5-1. And you don't want to let the board talk you out of a 5-1 shot either, because, it looks like this could be a favorite that is 3-1 ish, maybe 7-2. I don't have the morning line, so there's consumer spending. Who is the morning line favorite? Is it consumer spending?
No, it's the outside filly, Gino Romantica.
And what is she? 5-2, 3-1. So there you go. So
right, I think she's gonna be less, Paul.
You think so?
Gut feeling. I think she'll be 5-2. Yeah.
Yeah. But even still, there's only 8 in here. So spread out as it is, 5-2 that's lukewarm, right?
Yeah, no question. And Pete, you're going with the other Chad, and Pete, I know you deep dive like I do. I looked at trainer stats, trainer jockey, tried to decipher who Chad might want on which horse. I couldn't really find anything. I don't know if you found anything. No. Here's the thing with the 8 for me. I don't have him any. I don't have. Oh, wow, that's the first time in a while I've done. Paul, poor Paul. We're working him to death, man. I said that's a rarity for me.
You're not usually the first one. Usually Paul is the first.
Anyway, yes. She will be the favorite, I think, Pete. The thing is, I have her nowhere. Paul has her nowhere. You have her on top. That's how wide open this is. My big question with this filly is not really the layoff. I thought the QE2 was really weak last year. Really weak. I'm not sure who she beat. That being said, obviously she can win the damn thing.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the concern. But, I try not to get, again, I always say this like a broken record, but I try not to get too concerned with who they beat. Sometimes if they do it relatively impressively, and I thought she was pretty impressive in that race. So at least she did it that way. And she did beat an under even money favorite in McCulloch, whether you think McCulloch's any good or not. At that day and at that time, McCulloch looked like potentially the better horse to be bet down that much. Yeah. So I thought she was pretty impressive. And even the 1-2 back, she lost to Faith in Humanity, who's, of course, another pretty good looking Chad horse. So it's really just and it beat that 1-3 back. And I like just the fact that I think this one might be getting better. And if you get the normal progression from 3 to 4, then maybe you're looking at, so we haven't seen her, so we don't know. She could just be really good at 4 now. And if she takes that step forward, then she maybe separates herself from a couple of the other ones in here. And that's what I'm hoping for. And you're in Chad's hands. So, you're in pretty good hands for that to happen. And, he doesn't care about layoffs generally. I mean, his turf horses can come off layoffs usually with no problem, especially when they're quality. So again, I'm with Paul though. I think it's pretty lukewarm. And you, like you said, you could see from our board, we're all over the place. And I think it's lukewarm, especially off, there's enough concerns. I have the favored Chad. The other Chad is the one that usually wins. So Paul probably has the right idea in the end.
We got Daryl's here, Clement Rosario, and the 2 brown horses will be my plays. I think that makes a lot of sense. Ralph will actually be at Monmouth. Wait a minute, guys. Time for another live pod. Ralph, give us a call. No live pod for us Saturday. But Ralph, have a great time. I think the weather's going to be great from what I've heard. This horse can win. I mean, I have no knocks other than she's going to be a low price. I just don't want a low price in this race. Guys, we hinted on Malavath. Let me be clear to everyone watching and listening live, and we'll be doing later. I repeat, I do not have inside intel on this Clement runner. Will I pick up the phone or the text and seek for some inside intel? Yes, I will be doing that. I didn't have a chance to do that yet. A horse, Malavath, guys, was in the Breeders' Cup Mile last year and lost by a length and 3/4 to Modern Games. And actually, I thought had a little bit trouble. Now, last time, guys, I have no freaking clue what happened. I mean, she was awful, absolutely awful. There's no two doubts about it. Losing to Evie Jets. By the way, White Beam, remember that horse, guys, who won on Preakness Day, who I personally needed in the contest and did it well, was in that race also. But Santa Claus could have been in that race, and she wasn't beating that guy either. So I don't know what happened, guys. I have no idea. This is a complete in Clement I trust situation. They've got Rosario on her. She has to be better than what we saw last time. If she runs her, I don't know, guys, B race, she's got a shot in here. B plus and better, she absolutely wins this race. Again, I don't have inside intel, but she's got to be better than her last race, guys. That's where I'm going. Well, Paul, you got her second.
Yeah, and go one back from the Breeders' Cup Mile, Howard. The Prix de la Forêt is a really good Grade 1 race every year.
Kinross.
And Kinross is a really good horse.
Saffron Beach.
Saffron Beach. If you want to play the company game, you go back to the Breeders' Cup in 21, Pizza Bianca. If you want to play the company game. Now the question is, how does she get bet? I think she might get lost a little bit here. Well, I don't know what's the morning line, Howard. I don't have the morning line.
She's 4-1.
Yeah, I think she'll be all of that based on the way we've talked about the field.
I sort of think so too. People would see that last line. They're like,
yeah.
She has a lot of works, by the way, since, which I'm taking as a positive. I don't care
all
that
at
they're
Belmont.
slow.
All at Belmont. So
she's a quirky horse, guys. She's quirky. She's a little weird. She might be up the track again. This is like all or nothing to me. I don't know. She just has to be better. Any other thoughts, guys, in this race? You guys?
Yeah, I think the one, Howard. I think the one could sit a very good trip. Here I am with Paco again, which I don't like, but
yeah.
Back-to-back 90s, good position. Again, comes out of the market segmentation race. Scottish Star, who's one of the logicals in here, has run with that horse 2 times. So yes. And Ross Blacker had a question in the chat about the 5, Robbie Falcone, being hot at Monmouth, which he is.
I've
40%,
got her second.
40%. I guess, yes, if ridden the way the last 2. I mean, this is a horse who has been ridden a little more forwardly the last 2. So if this race is this wide open, sure. Why not, Russ?
That one, my concern, because the horse itself hasn't been good when she hit the graded stakes level, and Falcone is 0-for-20 in graded stakes races. So the combination of those scared me a bit with the 5.
I just thought she's sort of getting good at the right time, and I think she's a little more tactical than some others, guys. And I'm just totally against the speeds in this race. She's going to angle out here and does it. Actually, she comes up the inside, which I don't think she really wanted to do, and it was a slow pace. So although this might not look that visually impressive, guys, she had to run down a horse that was decent, that was sort of loose on the lead, and she came up the inside and gallops out well. So I think there's more to this filly. I don't know if she classes up. We'll see on Saturday.
I have this 7 as a bomb on the and third and on my pick 5 ticket when we get to it. And it's a pure.
We got to get to it now because then we're going to move on.
Pure speed play. That was it. Pure speed play. Likes the distance. Has a win at Monmouth, but also the form's a little muddy if you take away the races over a mile and a 16th, the form looks a lot better. Now again, she's just on a lower level than these horses, so she would have to just get away, back the race down, and have all the luck in the world. But at 20-1, I'll put her on the ticket and take the shot. We've been beaten by weird speed before on the turf, so why not have it on the ticket?
I would completely agree with you, Pete, if the 4 wasn't in the race. What's the 4 going to do? I mean, the 4 is speed also. So
4 is speed, yeah.
I don't know. At some point, I think the 4 actually might let the 7 go, and then
But the
just
sevens, yeah, I think the seven's faster just naturally. So I think the 7 gets there. But if the 4 pushes, then the 7 will be dead pretty early.
Speaking of pushing, guys, this next race got a bunch of speed in it. The Salvator Mile. Let's take a look at it right now. It's race 12 at Monmouth on Saturday. It's a grade 3. I always like this. This is a fun race. They're going mile, which is 2 turns on the dirt. You got a big field of 10. The Moorline favorite is the number 9, Artorias, for Chad Brown and Flo. And I had some mad love for this horse last year, if you guys remember. I actually picked in the Travers. He was not very good in that race, but he was an up-and-coming 3-year-old. Let me go ahead and switch the banners here, and we'll go to Pete. Wow, we're all going with the Pennsylvania bred, excuse me, Nimitz class for. I mean, how do you not go with this trainer, guys, who's got one of the best last names in horse racing? Bruce Kravitz, no relation, by the way. Rian Toledo in the saddle. This horse is in raging form. Pete, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean Kravitz, 43% wins, 61 in the money with winners
right,
last
baby.
out in the past 5 months. So that sounds like your stats in the power pick. So you had to sort of pair those up together. Yeah, this is one for me where it's more of a form play where maybe this horse is just really good form right now. And again, the class has been lower. He's running at Parks, running at Laurel, running at Penn. So not exactly high quality company, but's been doing it the right way. The buyers are good. The time forms are actually, especially in the last race, the time form is even much better than the buyer figure. So it looks like a 97, but from a time form standpoint, you're probably over 100 again if you sort of take that down by 20. So I'm just looking more pure. Hey, this one could sit off. He's tactical enough to where if there is a ton of speed, I think this one could sit just off and maybe get first run. And there's a couple closes in here I think aren't that bad, but I think this horse can get first run. And if he just gets away, then, somebody's got to come and catch him.
Paul, this is exactly the style of horse you want for a 2-turn race, right? He doesn't need the lead, but he's tactical. He always puts himself in a great spot. He's only 4 years old. And you know what? I'm not a weight guy, as you guys know, but he has been carrying 126 last several starts. He's losing 4 pounds. He's just really logical. I'm fascinated to see what this horse does. He reminds me a little bit of Mind Control, who's won this race before. I would not be completely shocked if we see this horse at Santa Anita come November if he continues to run well, guys, in the Breeders' Cup Dirt Mile.
Well, that'd be great, Howard. Bruce Kravitz has more than 23,000 starts in his career. He has never won a graded stakes. He is the perennial leading trainer at Penn National. I wrote about him when I wrote the history of Penn National last year. I can't be rooting for a horse any stronger than this horse, and that did play into my pick too. So, proceed with caution. But boy, I'd love to see him get a win like this. He's a great guy. He's, on the smaller circuits, as Pete listed them, Penn, Laurel, Presque Isle. But 5 in a row is 5 in a row, and while they're listed stakes, 4 of them are still stakes races. And looking at this field, it's wide open, but Cody's wish is not coming through that door, as they say. Riding with Biden ran really well at Parks last year, but it was a much different dynamic, wire to wire, in a mile and a half race where he really was able to slow down the pace.
Yeah.
I think the one is a real factor from the rail with Saez. I think Louis will be very aggressive, but I think that. And interesting, Jovian Toledo took over this horse 5 races ago. It was a perfect 5 for 5. So I think the 8 has a good chance. I'm rooting for the 8. We could talk about the 9. Chad thought enough of the 9 last year to put him in a stakes off a maiden and then in the Travers off that stakes. Seemed to take a lot out of him. He ran poorly at Keeneland, and this is his comeback race. So, we'll see. But I'm rooting for the 8 for sure.
Let's see how Chad is. I'm assuming you looked this up, Pete, off this extended layoff. Let's just take a look at it. I'm going to go to the dirt too, because we always need to look at turf here. Here are the stats. I'll move it up. This is Chad last 5 years in dirt races off his 6 month or more
Yeah.
layoff. Holy
Oh,
shit.
only
29%,
29. Yeah, that's all.
61% in the money. Let me look at stake races, guys, while we do that. Pete, your thoughts on this horse? You've got him second, so do I.
I mean, I think he's just a hard one to figure, right? I mean, I'm with you. I hate to admit it too. I think in the Travers, you and I were both on this horse, and we looked like dummies.
Ooh,
For sure. Yeah, that's not that great. Yep.
You saw what I just switched there. You want to talk about that to people at home?
Yeah, did you put graded stakes only, right?
right
Yeah,
there.
so
Yep.
graded stakes greater than 180 days on the dirt, 1 for 14. I did see that, and that was part of the reason why I was like, if we could beat this horse, and this horse, had some buzz, ran in the Travers, so I figured it's going to probably take a little bit of money, even under that, maybe 3-1. So I figured,
He is
hey,
50% in the money. I'm trying to see who he's doing it with. I mean, he's doing it with nice horses too. So
yeah, that's the thing.
I don't know. This is the first time I actually looked at this stat. I don't know. I'm gonna stay with this horse's live. The fact that he's a newly turned 4-year-old to me, it interests me a lot, Pete. I just think there's the upside in this. If this horse is like in the Breeders' Cup Classic come November and is a threat, it wouldn't shock me. I think the sky's the limit for this horse.
I mean, he looked so good off the curling. I mean, the curling, he looked great. So
slow down, Howard. Slow down.
I love what I saw
Howard,
last year, Paul.
take a deep breath. Take a deep breath.
Okay, sorry.
Okay. All right.
All right. Go
Continue.
ahead.
Maybe the Breeders' Cup Mile instead.
Breeders'
that would
Cup
be more,
Classic.
Breeders' Cup Mile maybe would be more your.
But
I mean, what if he comes back and we don't know why he was bad in the Travers.
I have to read into it. I'm not sure what happened.
And then that Perryville was awful. I mean, Gun Night is good. Hoist of Gold is pretty good, but
I don't know.
You're supposed to be more
This
competitive.
race will tell you a lot, Howard.
Guys, the breeding on this horse is just screams long and older. Like, by the way, the arrogants are really starting to fire. By the way, if you guys have been noticing, like on a daily basis, I think there's a horse that won the Belmont that was.
I heard
good.
one won the Belmont. Yes, I think I had him.
Anyway, any more thoughts on this race? There's a ton of speed on the inside, but there's not a lot of great colors. I thought 5 Bourbon Calling was the only closer that I really wanted. Although I think Arturius is going to come from behind too. Bourbon Calling is 15-1. Let me just show real quick. I thought he was a bit interesting. You guys apparently don't, but I don't know. I
didn't like necessarily on the win end. Go ahead, Paul.
I predict Bourbonic will be 10th after 3/4 of a mile.
That's a pretty. I was thinking about this. There's a small thought, guys. That was like, there's a lot of speed. This is the dead closer. This horse is just going to be way too far back, and Monmouth is not the track that you want to do that on, guys. So, no Bourbonic love for me. Let's go to the next race, guy. Oh, Pete.
By the way, Nimitz runs without Lasix for the first time. That is a question, Robert, in the chat there. So that's always a concern. So you have to think about that.
Yep. The Monmouth Stakes, Grade 3, the penultimate leg of the Pick 5, 1 1/8 for the boys on the turf. This is a small field. It's a field of 6, and it's the comeback of Tribuvan. Real nice horse for Chad. Flo is riding. He's now a 7-year-old. He's 9-5 morning line. We're going to look at the PPs right now. And I mean, his accomplishments really speak for themselves, but similar to King's Barnes, but in a completely different way. I have some questions on this horse, guys. And apparently, wow, you guys have questions too. I'm actually surprised. None of us are taking Tribuvan on top, coming off the layoff. Paul, you're going with the 3, which is Speaking Scout. This is a horse that I chased for a little bit. What does he like about this motion-trained horse?
Well, I think he was very close last time, and I think that race has come back. We saw Emmanuel run a monster the other day.
Yeah.
Never Explain is right back in here.
I'll show the stretch run.
Watch
someone
the 2
else.
And the 6. I think someone else ran okay out of that race. If I'm not
2 is Speaking
mistaken.
Scout. I'll watch the 2 and the 6 here as there we go. It was a very bunched up finish. Their Speaking Scout is here. And
as turf
Never
races.
Explain. Here's Speaking Scout. Go ahead.
Yeah, Emmanuel's actually the first to run back. But yeah, I think motion spots them really well. I think he is going to be a decent price as you could see, 4-1. I think Tribhuvan, Howard, it's a dynamic where he's a speed horse who runs better the longer the race, which some people might
I
say
was going
that
to say the
doesn't make
same thing,
sense.
Paul. I was going to say
But
the same exact thing. I'm with you on that one.
He isn't at a mile and an eighth. He's not going to be as sharp as he is at a mile and a half, a mile and 3/8. Doesn't mean he's not going to go the lead. Doesn't mean he's not going to win. But I'll tell you what he's not going to do. In a mile and an eighth, he's not going to go to a lone lead and go around in 24 and 49 and 4 and waltz to the wire. I don't think.
The layoff. Now, this horse has done well, Pete, off layoffs before, but he's also not done as well. And we talked about this last week. As they get older, at least in my opinion, I can look up stats for it. I think they're less likely to do well off layoffs as they get older. This is just a bet against for all of us, obviously.
And I guess the question is, though, those were all mostly in grade 1 races. So was it the layoff? Was it was it just the fields that he was running against? He's a tough one to figure. I agree. And Paul, to your point, he's not a horse who really backs down the pace. He just goes, and sometimes he holds and sometimes he doesn't, but he's not generally a go to the half and 50 and back the race down. Like for whatever reason, he just goes and he tries the last. And if he can, he can. And if he doesn't, he doesn't. So
Can you talk about the two? Because I don't want people to say we're ignoring.
Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry, Paul.
I was just going to say he ran really poorly at Churchill. He was on a loose lead that day, Pete, in 49, and just completely dropped anchor. So anyway, sorry, Howard.
Pete, I don't want people to think that we're ignoring the number 2 and not saying anything about this horse. No pun needed here with Never Explain.
I mean, he's just, again, we have a few of these today where we're looking at sort of inform horses. So this one came back at 5, just seems to be in really good form, improving. If you look at from a buyer standpoint, they're improving. He had a lifetime buyer top in his last 2, which means he's still getting better, even though, one was off a couple months and he still came back and fired. Beat Emmanuel, like Paul mentioned, who Emmanuel came back and ran, 100 buyer, won the grade 3 poker, maybe whatever it was over the weekend, won the race. So this horse is just sharp. And I think if Tribhuvan does, Tribhuvan we know is going to be on the lead. This horse is tactical enough to where if Tribhuvan does come back, this horse can get a good run. Has run well at the distance. Shug's really got a good in the money. Like he was 21% win, but 72% in the money turf routing at Monmouth. So when he comes here, his horses generally run well. He picks up Saez. So if you lose Pratt, at least you're getting Saez. So I think all systems are go for this one. And it's just a point of whether Tribhuvan comes back and he can run him down.
Even though he's second choice, guys, in a weird way, isn't he the most likely winner? You know what I mean? Like he's just in really good form. His buyer numbers are going up. Guys, I'm going to take a fly with Commandeer. Now, this is a weird horse, right? He's only had one lifetime start on turf, and it was last race. I thought that was really good. I mean, really good. I saw the 98. I'm like, come on, it couldn't have been that good.
He ran great, right, Howard?
He ran great.
That, yeah.
He ran great. We're going to show the stretch run. According to the time form, he's going to be up close. And for me, just like you said, Pete, I want the horse that's going to, take the lead over from Tribhuvan. With Paco, who tends to be a little more aggressive, I think, and I'm just guessing, at least I would like Paco to sit right off of Tribhuvan, and he's going to be the one that's going to get first run on Never Explain. And if he runs to his last race, guys, I see no reason why he can't win.
Howard, remember, show the start. Are you going to show the start?
Well, okay. We'll show the start and the finish.
But watch the start with this horse.
Pretty badly. He did recover, right? He's the 8.
Yeah, there.
That's a pretty good stumble. He recovers right away, so he's a really athletic horse. Now, watching the stretch, guys, very carefully. Remember, this is his first time on turf. He's getting a good trip. He's sweeping around. It looks like he's right here, by the way. You're like, right now, if he's right here, like this horse has no chance, right? He's making a huge run, and this horse sort of comes out. Watch, he's on the correct lead, guys, and watch, he jumps back to his wrong lead. When this horse, see that horse sort of got in his way, I think he saw it, And then now he's on his wrong lead and he lost all his like momentum. And then I mean, look at the stride, guys. This is a big horse with a big stride. Notice he's got a shadow roll. So he's probably a little bit goofy, right, guys? He's got that shadow roll so he doesn't, see other things. So I'm sure this is a horse that's not easy to ride. But for the first time on turf, he's completely unexposed. We know what all these other horses are. He's going to be, I think 5-1's about right. This horse is my most fascinating horse of the entire sequence. I don't know if he can win, but I think he's really interesting, guys. Really interesting.
I like him too. Go ahead, Paul. I was
Well,
just
I'm gonna make.
Oh, go ahead.
I'll make you feel better, Howard. That race he's coming out of, albeit an allowance race, two horses have won, 2 have run second, and 5 have improved their buyers in their next start.
Yeah, Tiberius Mercurius. Well, I mean, here it is right here. One, Kapuna got a 99. The last horse came back with a 90. This was this race not equal to the race he's racing today? Perhaps. I mean, pretty close to it, right?
Yeah.
So, I don't know. This horse is fascinating to me.
I hate to be a broken record. The only thing with him was he has 4 races on the page. He has 4 races on the page without Lasix, and they all sucked. So again, I'm picking them, so I'm gonna hopefully that's the anomaly, and when he takes to the turf, that goes away.
We're going to find out. It's fascinating. Guys, we're going to close out the pick 5 with an allowance race, 6 furlongs for 3-year-olds. This is an N1X. Also horses have not won 2, depending on their condition. It's a field of 7. You got 8-5 on Smooth Flying Mike, the number 2 versus Sabelli and Paco, which is a really good combination. You guys both have this horse in first. I have this horse second. I'm sure the stats on this trainer jockey combo are off the charts.
Yeah, I mean, you could see those on the page. I don't know if you looked at them, Paul. I didn't have I had a Sabelli stat, 30% win, 58% in the money in dirt sprints at Monmouth. But go ahead. I don't know, Paul, you have anything special you like about this one?
Nah, I just think it's the type of race that, they typically win together.
Yeah.
It'd be over bet too. I'm going to do Sabelli with Paco just to give people a 24% with 174 horse sample. So
pretty good.
Jane trains at a very high percentage.
Jane, what first name basis? Wow, Paul, I'm impressed.
Her numbers are very, very high.
One thing I always like is was working really well going into the last one. Ran well, lost the race, but still ran well, and now is cutting back. And then came out of the race with a bullet, 1 out of 88, 48-1 work. So looks to be holding the form after that last race, even though it was a loss. But I assume maybe the mile wasn't to his liking, so maybe the cutback is what'll really be beneficial.
I think it's mainly 2-horse race, guys. I'm going with the 7 Heldish, who I thought ran much improved last time against Fort Warren and Johnny's from Albany. So I thought the race the 7 is coming out of was by far the toughest race of any of these. He's got outside tackle speed with Maker. Maybe he's just improving for a jock that's solid at Monmouth. To me, it's mainly 2-7. I'm going to use everyone else defensively.
The 7's scary. He doesn't like to win. That's the only thing that scared me. And Maker, 2 for 19 at Monmouth only. That was mostly turf though. So when I looked, I think it might have been only 2 or 3 of them were maybe on dirt. So that could be a little, it could be a little misleading, but still just maybe for some reason he just doesn't have it when he comes here. But
before we show our pick 5s, I also want to mention the 3 for everyone at home. Carlos David's a sharp guy. This horse was staked earlier in his career, and now his blinks off with a new trainer and working well. To me, the 3 is the complete wild card of this race. I'm using the 3 also. Paul, you tend to agree.
Yes, I do agree, Howard. I was I get it's Sayers. They thought enough to put him in the Nashua. Ran with the 7 last time. Looms boldly, named after our friend Pete.
Yeah, good horse.
A really, really, really good horse. So yeah, I have this horse as a B. I'm with you. My A's are the 2 and 7.
Yeah, I agree. Guys, let's get to our pick 5 selections. Then we'll bring on the wonderful Jim Millers in the bullpen because we have some very exciting news and promos that we want to mention with all of us on screen. Then we need to let bring Jim on. Pete, let's go with your pick 5 first. Pete's pick 5 for Monmouth on Saturday is 8 with 1378, with 2389, with 1256, with 245, $96, singling Kings Barnes.
Yeah, especially in the first leg, you figure it's one of those where if Kings Barnes gets beat, then you just look at the pick 4. But I figure, again, my thought with that one was either Kings Barnes rolls, or if he loses, I think he can lose to 3 or 4 or 5 of the other horses in the race. So I don't want to go too deep in case he's 3 to 5 and winds up winning, then you just waste a lot of equity. The rest of the races, as we talked about, I just think they're so up in the air, which is why I wanted to go single in the first leg, because I think you can go a bunch of different ways. I do have a couple prices. I think I added a price horse in the 4th leg, and then one we didn't talk about in the last leg. I think the 4, he was the 4 is like a 15 to 1 shot. I have a 20 to 1 shot in there. So hopefully if one of them can come through with King Barnes on the front end, and then in a couple of those races where the favorite's like 3 to 1, you can get a half decent payout.
Yep. Nimitz is running without Lasix. Is that true, guys?
That's what I was talking. That's why I mentioned
yeah.
that before, where it's a concern because he has no races on the page with no Lasix. So we'll see.
Okay. Paul, you're going 7-8 with 1368, with 189, with 123, with 27, $72. No singles.
No singles, but a lot of duos, which is which may or may not work out. It might not be the most efficient ticket. I think this might be the type of sequence, Howard, where you place Kingsbarn as a single in a caveman and spread as much as you can elsewhere, and then you play a ticket similar to this, maybe even without Kingsbarn, but spreading in that leg, and because that you will be a separator if you could beat Kingsbarns.
I mean, if you beat Kingsbarns, there's no doubt you're going to be a separator, and I'm going to try to do it. Do I have a single, guys? What do you think? What's your gut tell you?
Nope.
Nope.
I want to say yes, but I can't imagine in this sequence. If you don't like Kingsbarns, I can't imagine who it would be.
I couldn't find one. I'm going 148 with 3568 with 2589 with 25 with 27. I'm going light on the end, guys. I think, and notice I do not have Tribuvon. By the way, my other Tribuvon, guys, if this horse is so good, wouldn't he run in the Manhattan? I don't think Chad had any. Did Chad have any in the Manhattan? I was trying to think.
I don't remember. No.
Well, obviously no one that
not,
good
though.
because we would have remembered, right?
Yeah.
So that was my other thing. Like, why wouldn't he run in Manhattan? I thought that was a big negative. I don't know if you guys had any thought.
Highest honors. He had highest honors. He had Rock Emperor.
Okay. I don't know. I thought that was a negative.
Neither of which were serious competitors.
Yeah, if he was feeling that good, I think he'd be in the Manhattan. But anyway, I'm going light in the end. 2-5 with 2-7, $96. There's my ticket. I think it's really a tough sequence, guys. We got a lot of things going on with this show and with Hawthorne. So just for a few minutes here, we're going to talk about that with all of us on the screen. So let's bring on there he is, the director. I got to put up the banner. The director, salute, of racing at Hawthorne Racecourse, Mr. Jim Miller. Jim, how you doing tonight?
And a pretty good morning line odds maker, if I should mention it myself, talking about Angel of Empire and Tapit Trice. If we want to talk a little bit about last week, that was my only hit. That was my only win last week.
No, Jim, what's the name of that charity? I'm doing it tonight.
The RICF, Racing Industry Charitable Foundation.
You got it.
But hey, Paul, it was awesome seeing you on TV. What a great horse! What a great race! That was so much fun. Everything about the race was awesome. So that was very cool.
How about number 3 in the world rankings right now? Behind,
is he? I was wondering where he'd be.
And should be
3 behind Equinox and Golden 60.
That's unbelievable. It's so cool, Paul.
I mean, all right, here, let me ask you guys, just getting a little off topic since we have a little bit of time. Is this a horse that has the potential to point towards the Breeders' Cup Classic?
Well, it's funny you should say that, Jim. I don't want to jinx myself because I want him to run in the Whitney so bad. cut off one pinky and maybe two. But it makes a lot of sense. And if you listen to Bill Mott, and I haven't talked to him about it, but the way he's talking, it's so logical. He has elite power for the forego later on. Why run them against each other if you don't have to?
Right.
And what do you have to lose? If he runs into Whitney and for any reason the extra furlong bothers him, then come back in the forego.
Right.
I mean, he could probably win the dirt mile, giving them a head start, right?
Well, and that's what it seems like. It seems like he would be a lock in the dirt mile, but we don't know what's going to happen the farther he goes. It may just get better.
So let's say he wins the Whitney, pretend, at a mile and an eighth. Yeah. Or runs second or third, but it's not the distance that beats him.
Right.
Now, I don't know. I don't want to get ahead of myself.
Plus, the 3-year-old crop and the older handicap division horses, nobody's that great. So if he could get the distance, he's just better. He's better than everybody right now. So, I mean, again, and he's bred. I mean, the breeding suggests long just because he's been great short. So you keep him what he's doing, but why not?
If nobody emerges clear in the 3-year-old division, like you said, I wouldn't see any reason why not to take a shot.
Yeah,
Paul, I'm so excited about this horse that I want to make an announcement because no one knows this. This week, I decided to book a flight and hotel to Santa Anita for the Breeders' Cup. I will be at the Breeders' Cup guaranteed, guys. So
nice.
I'm going. I'm excited about that. I think Cody will be there and might be in the Classic. What's also exciting, Jim, is we got 2 things I want to mention in relation to this show. First of all, I showed this video. I'm going to cue it up. We've got a huge contest next week. It's the NHC qualifier. It's very exciting. Let me go ahead and cue it up right now, and we're going to make sure the sound works this time. Okay, sound is on. It should be working. Here's information about the NHC qualifier contest at Hawthorne Racecourse next week. Let's roll the tape.
If you've never been to NHC, this is what it is right here. This is awesome.
There are going to be prices coming. This room is going to be nuts tomorrow.
These players are unbelievable. This is your chance to be in the spotlight. When all 8 tracks are in play, there's going to be bombs dropping left and right. There's going to be screaming and yelling. Hawthorne is probably the best value out there for catch number play.
If you're serious about contests and you want to experience the NHC, you have to find a way to get to Hawthorne as many times as you can. You absolutely have to. The reason I think the Hawthorne contests are the best value in contests, there's no entry fee. Hawthorne is giving away seats. You have to play in those events because we all know what the cost of an online NHC seat is.
Got some free entry come out to Hawthorne, so I made my first trip and had a great time. If you're playing contests, Hawthorne is a great spot to be. There's no takeout of the contest. It's a great place for horse players to either qualify here or play some live money down here.
All right, there it is, Jim Miller. I can't say anything more. By the way, great job by the production crew who put that together. And I promise everyone, we're not showing that because I'm in it. I had no idea I was in it until Dakota Schultz sent it to me. So, Jim, real quick, next week, Hawthorne contest. I guess the most important thing for purposes of this particular podcast, there'll be people watching throughout the country. You do have to be on site in the Chicago area at one of the OTBs to compete.
Right. Like you mentioned, the Chicago area. So we have it at 6 different OTB locations. Some, if you're coming into town, some are right there by Midway Airport. Some are right by O'Hare. So people do fly in for these contests for the qualifiers. In the course of the year, we give away over 20 NHC seats each and every year. This weekend contest, we have seats available on the Saturday, seats available on the Sunday. And like you said, there's no entry fee. There's no takeout. You keep what you make. You're playing a live bankroll. And you can play the circuit that you like. And that's the thing. We don't say we're going to shove a bunch of Hawthorne races down your throat and that's all you can play. If you like New York, bet New York. You like Southern California, Florida, wherever it is, focus on what it is, but to really have it be handicapping. And that's the thing. Play multi-race wagers, work doubles, work exactas, tries, however you want to play, you can do so for these contests. So it's a very cool setup. It is. It's really a live bankroll format, and it's the reason why we get so many really good players and good handicappers coming out of these contests.
And, of course, we have the Hawthorne Invite also, which is invitation only that I'll be participating in. Not sure how many people we have, but that's also a qualifier. That's very exciting. But I'm not going to expound on that because that was invitation only. The other thing I want to talk about, though, next month, guys, and Pete and Paul, this is the first time you've seen this. How about this? We've got another pool party for the HHH Racing Podcast, guys. This is live OTB. This is Saratoga opening weekend. This is going to be with myself, Matt Miller, Kyle Roscoe. I think a Charlie Freeman might be there as well. It is Saturday, July 15th, 3 to 5 in Crestwood, which is in the southern suburbs. They give us $1,000 to bet. We share the profits. $35 is the ticket. Appetizers program. You can get tickets through HawthorneRacecourse.com. We've been very successful with this, Jim. I'm hoping you're going to be out there also. Yep, maybe Emily as well. Really excited and appreciate you guys having us out there again for the pool party.
And here's the thing, just so everybody knows who plays these pool parties, like you said, $35. It gets you program, gets you food, gets you drink. It's a really fun atmosphere, a really fun afternoon because everybody's playing the races, and then you get a piece of the pool party. We've had a lot of success with these. Emily and I did one earlier on in the year. We turned $1,000 bankroll into $5,800, and we're able to give everybody back $180. They did another one on Belmont Day, and again, did really well. Went out there. It was Emily and Jordan Jane, another very good handicapper. And again, everybody got back about $160. So it's one of those things where you can take some shots with people that really are very good handicappers, get after it. And you guys are very good. It was a blast the last time I was out there with you and Kyle and Matt. So looking forward to it again. It is a lot of fun, and it is. It's a great venue there at Crestwood too.
Well, we appreciate that. We're excited. Maybe Pete and Paul, if they're in the Chicago area,
you're always welcome.
Join us for a live OTP seminar. That'd be a lot of fun.
That'd be awesome.
Pete and Paul, we'll let you guys go. Any final thoughts from either one of you guys about Monmouth or anything else? Alice has got a really nice card as well that Bettin and Boozin talked about that we'll be covering on the Power Picks.
Just one quick thing. I don't remember anything about this odds-making bet. All I remember was Rock Emperor from our last conversation.
Yeah. Is that
I don't remember.
Ouch.
I don't remember any other things.
Wait, there it is. He's still running.
Has he finished yet? Yeah, I don't think he's finished. I'm still waiting.
Sure. That's the only thing I remember from last week's show, so I'm not really sure what you're talking about.
Like I said, I was really bad with everything else last week, except Angel of Empire being a shorter price than Tapestry. So you're right. Rock Emperor is still running.
Good. That's all good. I don't know if any of us picked it any better, but it was still.
Nothing wrong with taking some shots. Pete and Paul, we're going to let you guys go. Thanks a lot. You got to rest up because we got a busy week next week. So, by the way, to everyone, while the four of us on the screen, happy Father's Day to everyone out there on Sunday.
Happy Father's Day.
Please do your best to be with your family. If you have kids, whatever. It's always a special day. All three of you are fathers. So happy Father's Day to you guys and your family. Pete and Paul, we'll let you guys go.
See you guys.
We'll see you soon.
See you.
All right, Jim. Let's get into the. By the way, for people who don't know, we didn't hear last week. You bet Pete and Paul who would be second choice in the Belmont. You said definitively it would be Angel of Empire. They thought definitively it would be Tapestry. Obviously, you were correct. I was a little surprised that Tapestry was that high. I mean, he was 6-1 at one point, and then bet down to 5-1. By the way, I've officially separated myself. We're just separated, Jim. He's just a big, goofy oddball. I thought I actually did run pretty well. Angel did not run well at all.
No, not really. You put it as you're taking a break. How about that? You and Tapestry are taking a break. But it was a weird race though, and it's so hard because you're never going to see these horses at 1.5 miles again. So many trying to distance for the first time, and you don't know how they're going to finish. You don't know kind of what the pace scenario was. I thought the pace was a little weird, a little bit more bunched up than I was expecting, and a couple of these horses kind of wide trips. Angel of Empire wide the whole way around too. That's kind of how Tapestry likes to run too, and they were just kind of flat. I mean, the winner is a great trip, come right up the fence, run right through, and congratulations to the connections. Awesome to see a female trainer winning a Triple Crown race. I thought that was super cool too. So great story all around, and it turned out to be a good thing in the end with Arcangelo winning.
No, I think it's a great story. Good for Jen Antonucci. Let's get to the pick four, guys. The pick four on Sunday against the Sunday's pick four at Hawthorne, which always produces prices. I always notice and I look up, and we usually have a few people that leave the show. I don't know why, because it's nothing to do with you, Jim. It's just Hawthorne isn't as big. Usually
of course.
But the prices at Hawthorne are tremendous, and there's some really nice races. Let's take a look at this pick four. You see Jim's for the top three in the four races on Sunday, scrolling at the bottom of the screen. The first race is an allowance. They have the rails out at 10 feet. It's on the turf. for 1 mile. These are Illinois breds. It's a field of 8. The morning favorite is number 2, Summer Day for Mitchell and Mojica. Mojica, you are going with Cowgirl Frankie with Giles, the apprentice, 6-1.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, like you talked about the value for the pick fours, all it usually takes is trying to beat 1 or 2 favorites. And that's all you need to do. And you know what? Cowgirl Frankie, the last couple of races have been much improved races. But that last race was against similar horses. Summer Day, who's in this field, was also in that last start. And Cowgirl Frankie settled back early on, was full of run late, ended up rallying. And that was on a very firm turf course that for the most part had been holding speed throughout the course of the meet. Well, we got some rain earlier on in the week. We raced over a good turf course today. You're able to see some horses starting to come from out of it a little bit too. So it's something that benefits this horse. Trainer John Rednauer, people don't really know much about John. He's stabled down at Fairmount Park. Everything he sends up to Hawthorne is always live. He had a horse run third on the grass today by the name of On KP. So 12 starts at the meet. 6 of 12 have found the board. And when you get 6-1, I think it's definitely worth looking because Summer Day is going to be a very short price. They're trying to prep for the Illinois Turf Stake. And Summer Day in that last out, there was really no excuse. The horse had a dream trip, held the lead in the lane, and just simply got out finished.
Coming off the layoff would be my only excuse. I guess my only concern with Cowgirl Frankie, maybe you have some insight. This is going to be her 3rd start in less than a month. And it looks like the pace really fell apart last time and she closed into it. Does she need that fast pace? Do you think she's just an improving horse who has found the right surface?
The thing is, I think she's going to get enough of that pace. And the reason I say that is the 6-horse Mom's Town from the barn of trainer Larry Ravelli, stretching back out from a sprint to go a route of ground. That's a horse that can show some speed there. I would expect the 5, she's a big star, probably shows some speed once again. And then you also have Miss Kitty Pie, the 3-horse, who's another one that just has enough speed to at least keep things honest up front.
Okay.
That's kind of what I'm looking to. Just keep it honest up front, and this is a horse that should be able to close. And Emmanuel Giles has been riding very well this meet, so wouldn't surprise me by any means with Cowgirl Frankie.
I like it. Jim is going with a 6-1 shot to open up the pick 4 on what is going to be a very skinny ticket, which I love, which we'll show in a little bit. Race 6. Let me bring that up on screen. 6 furlongs. It's what we got, maidens here, main special weight, 6 furlongs on the dirt. You got some Illinois breds. You got some horses that are not bred in the state of Illinois. You're the morning line maker. It's absolutely wide open. It's a field of 8. Number 7, Monterey for Rian and Centeno is your morning line favorite. You are going with the number 8, Black Raven, Perez, and Tavares, 4-1.
Yeah, and this is one of those things with being the director of racing, you kind of sometimes just have to put races together. We had an Illinois maiden allowance race and an open maiden race, ended up just combining the 2 races to come together with this field of 8, and everybody just kind of fits in this spot. Now, Manta Ray's a horse that had been running at Oaklawn Park and ran some decent races, and is going to take a lot of money. And they thought enough of this horse to claim it for $30,000 at the start of the meet. But Ron Moquette didn't think enough of this horse to run it for the maiden allowance at Oaklawn early on in the meet either. Now, some pretty good efforts after that. Tailed off a little bit, though, in that last start. Now, Black Raven's a horse that comes back and wheels back very quickly, but this is a horse that the Manny Perez barn has had a good meet. You're seeing a lot of these Glockenberg-owned horses that are coming to Manny Perez. And look at the breeding. I mean, you're sired by Empire Maker. You're looking at a horse that does make that quick return. But that last race, I think that was more of just kind of an educational type race. Get that first start. Get used to getting out of the gate. Come running at him late. There were only 5 in that field. So it was one of those where I think you just put the horse in the race, said, hey, let's learn a little bit of something. And they didn't have to work real hard in there to finish third. I could see Black Raven definitely improving with that quick wheel back.
Doesn't have to really improve that much. You see, did you look at the first time the Wicked Strong gelding number 6?
I gave the horse a little bit of a look, and it was more based off that gate trail back on May the 21st. I was able to watch that work. The horse was very quick out of the gate and quick through the half. What I didn't like, and when you're watching works, is the gallop out after that. Was quick to the half and then kind of shortened up when he got to the 5/8, and then as you got a little bit further. So I just tend to wonder if that first start out, it's going to be one of those kind of speed for a half and tire a little bit. I do think the horse is going to provide an honest pace, though, in the race.
Well, the 5 should absolutely, with DeVito, will show some speed. The 4's
they expected more out of that horse. The 5 Mare's
Three's got some speed. This is a tricky race here.
Yeah.
Jim. No question about it.
There's a lot of pace in the race, and the outside draw, long run down the backside, everything should benefit the 8 Black Raven. Javier Tavares finishes very well on a racehorse too. And again, you might catch a little bit of a price and just try to beat another favorite.
Love being the favorites. Let's go to the next race, race 7. It's an optional claiming 40 allowance, claiming for 40, 5 furlongs on the turf. It's a field of 7. Moreline favorite, pretty heavy favorite, number 3, Lady Rattler for Michael Campbell, who we haven't mentioned his name very much on this show recently, and Julio Felix. I will say, first off, Jim, this has nothing to do with this race at all. 5 furlong turf sprints, by far my least favorite kind of race. You make one little mistake, you could be in trouble. That being said, I guess you hope the favorite gets a little bit of trouble, because you're going with Someone Said So, the 2 for Cody. I think it's Rawson. Is that I pronounce
Cody
it?
Rosine. Yep.
Rosine, excuse me, and Mojica. And Rosine is the name that I've seen recently, because I'm going up to Canterbury on Wednesday to be there live, and he is a very good trainer up there.
He's a very good trainer. He's kind of split a stable between Hawthorne and Canterbury. He started the meet at Hawthorne after coming over from Oaklawn Park, has left some horses behind that he thinks are going to fit at Hawthorne, and has had some success. And I guess, like you mentioned, 5 furlong turf sprints are very tough to figure out. But a lot of the thing is, everybody tends to think, oh my gosh, it's 5/8 of a mile. You just have to have speed to win. And they all bet speed. Well, look up and down this field. The 1, the 3, the 4, the 5, the 6, the 7, all can show speed in this race. The only one that should be able to settle back early on and come running at him really is the 2 that Someone Said So. And you dig back through those past performances, go back to that race at Canterbury Park on the turf last summer. Someone Said So, settled back early on, was able to come running at him late. You see the horse was sitting 6th early and then closed up ground, ended up finishing 2nd in that spot, but it wasn't a bad speed figure. This is a horse that should be able to possibly get a very similar trip to that. Just sit back and run on late. Now, it is the first start out of the year, but the works have been kind of consistent every other week about coming into here. But again, this is a horse that Cody Rosine could have said, I'm going to take up to Minnesota, run a Canterbury and go 5/8. Or if I can sit here, if he's staying here for the optional 40, we just had a purse hike, so the purse is $37,500. He must think he has a shot to get the money.
This is a fascinating horse if he can run back to that 73.
Yeah.
And I will say, I despise big number horses that are favorites. Now, maybe the 3 is just tons the class. I mean, she's been an open company. I mean, she is the class, but I don't know if she doesn't get the lead and she gets pushed, she doesn't break rate, she's going to be odds on. This is definitely a horse I'll be taking on Sunday for sure.
And you're right. But when I make a line, that's one thing a lot of bettors look at. Oh my gosh, the horse had an 83. Nobody's close. Well, you know what? If you can dig back through the past performances and you don't find that race anywhere else, then you just tend to wonder, is that a little bit of an aberration or not? And that may be the possibility here.
Although I will say 70s might do the job. She's a talented horse.
Yeah.
But again, 5 furlongs on turf, and that's pretty quick. They hit that first turn relatively quickly, Jim, right?
Well, and you look at the 1 5/8 of a mile on turf, it's one of the lower speed figure numbers, which is something that's a little bit off. If this race were on the dirt, may be a different story too.
Very, very interesting. I'm sure. And the pick 4, Jim, you got to think 75% of the players that are betting under $50 are going to single that horse for sure.
Sure.
So if you can beat the 3, you are absolutely going to get paid. No doubt about it. Race 8, you're going 3-1-2 to close out the pick 4. It's another allowance. What a real nice sequence here Sunday at Hawthorne. Mile and a 70, N2X. It's a field of 8. Moreline favorite, pretty heavy. Number 3, Groveland, Owen Hardy, and Mojica. You're not messing around. Here's where you're going, Chalk.
And here's the thing about it. And here's the one thing that you might start seeing at Hawthorne a little bit more, Howard, is with the move of racing from Churchill to Ellis Park, some trainers are starting to look around for some other options to run some racehorses. Today, we had a 5/8 of a mile turf sprint. Ignacio Correas had a horse that came in and won that race. Well, Owen Hardy's already sent one horse over that was able to break its maiden on the turf and ran a really big race. Groveland's coming over. This is a horse that was on the Derby Trail earlier on. The horse ran second in the Sam F. Davis, and they said, hey, let's see what happens in the Tampa Bay Derby. Well, you saw that the horse kind of ran a little bit flat there. Well, now you come over here to Hawthorne. It's back in an allowance. You're getting Lasix for the first time. And again, you're not shipping up from Kentucky if you don't think you're going to win. You find a race that everything just kind of works out the way it should. Dancing Mo the 2, another Cody Rosine horse, should be able to show a little bit of speed. This horse just gets a dream trip, tucks right in behind that horse, and I think takes over and just runs away in the lane.
Yeah, I mean it's sort of cool to see a Godolphin horse here at Hawthorne.
Yep.
Kudos to all you guys for helping bring this horse in or convincing people to come here as opposed to Alice. Is that just? I don't want to get into the politics or anything that we shouldn't say, but
No.
is that people a little frustrated with having to move their horses over to Alice? They like the Churchill surface, or is it something else you might want to talk about?
Well, no, I mean, it can be a tough ship. It's a couple of hours away. It's not like it's just next door. So you kind of have your set base for where you're stabled, and you have to look and see what races fill, where everything goes in that. And a ship of a couple hours to one place, and then maybe 4 or 5 hours to another, but you can get the money at this place or have to wait 4 weeks to run somewhere else. You go where you can run. So for them, when you're kind of in that Midwest space, you have that ability to look and say at maybe a half dozen tracks. Horseshoe Indianapolis is one of those too, where you kind of look around, see where the races are going to fill, and just run where you have the best shot to win.
Jim, because we have a minute, I'm fascinated with the behind the scenes stuff that you are privy to that someone like me is not. When you heard that Churchill or when Hawthorne heard that Churchill was moving to Alice, is that you're like, we've got an opportunity, we need to actively recruit some of those horses and trainers, or you just sort of let them come to you?
No, I mean, we definitely let them know that things are out there. We put the word out, especially with this last condition book that just started yesterday, where we had an 18% purse increase. So that got into the word of everybody in the racing office. They're making phone calls. Agents are making phone calls. And we have another 10% purse increase that's coming in another month. So horsemen are going to start looking around the Midwest and saying, okay, well, your purses at Hawthorne are going to be similar to what we're running for maybe at Ellis or at Horseshoe Indianapolis, or maybe a little bit better in some other conditions than that. And we have a very good surface on the main track. We have the ability to run a lot of turf races. But the other thing that helps some of these horsemen too is we're not stuck having to run a massive amount of state bred races. We do have our handful of state bred races, but a lot of the Illinois bred horses run open. So you're looking for places where you have the potential to race. And that's something that we definitely offer. And when you have it and you have the purse increase, it definitely helps to be able to draw horsemen in.
Well, congratulations on the purse increase. I think it's fantastic. Things are going really well for Hawthorne right now, and things are going to go very well for people at home if they bet Jim's late pick 4, which costs a whopping, get this, $6 for 50 cents. But Jim feels so confident, guys. He's saying just crush it 5 times and bet it for $2.50 for only $30. 2-4 with 5, 7, 8 with 2, 3 with 3. Crush it 5 times. We haven't seen that too much from you, Jim. You must feel very good about this sequence.
I mean, you really have to feel good about the Owen Hardy horse on the tail end of it. And the thing is, they're saying, okay, yes, that horse is going to be a heavy favorite. But when you look earlier in the sequence, like I said, if you can beat 1 or 2 favorites, we've seen what the returns can be at Hawthorne. It's just a 15% takeout on the pick 4. But that first leg, Summer Day is going to be favored. But Cowgirl Frankie ran a really good race and finished ahead of Summer Day in that last out. The 6th race is the interesting race because you have the Manny Perez horse on the quick return on the outside. Mares Gunner, the DeVito horse that we talked about, they expected so much more in that debut. The horse was a 6-5 favorite on debut and was a little flat. If that horse wakes up, it could do so at a little bit of a price. Race 7, like you mentioned, Lady Rattler is going to be a single on a lot of tickets. I had to include the horse, but if someone said so, runs back to the turf race from last summer and wins, and you got 8-1, and all of a sudden you're looking at $18 winner, then you can settle on the favorite in the end, and you can have a really nice return without having to spread too far to get there.
I like the idea. There's nothing wrong with putting a favorite on the end if you can get some prices before that. Jim, I got 2 other quick questions to ask you, and then we'll end the show. Two Phils is, I believe, still planning on running in the Ohio Derby, which is next weekend. Give everyone an update on what you've seen from Two Phils in his training coming out of a monster effort in the Derby.
Here's the crazy thing, and I saw Jareth Ludbury because he's ridden a couple of Wednesdays at Hawthorne recently. He said he didn't think the horse could be doing better than it was going into the Derby. And then he said the way this horse is doing coming out of the Derby and working is far better even than what the horse was doing going into the Derby.
Wow.
So it wouldn't shock me.
1-5.
I'm going to make a little bit of not even a bold statement, but just a statement saying that he will be near the top of the 3-year-old division when all's said and done, even at the end of the year, just because the way he does things is so easy and he's never puffing. He's never working too hard. But Larry Ravelli is such a smart horseman that he's not going to give in to the pressure to say, okay, I had to run in the Preakness or I had to run in the Belmont. He's going to do what's best for the horse. And the end goal, of course, is the big prize at the end, be it if it's at the Travers, the Haskell, the Breeders' Cup Classic, whatever it is at the end, he's got a plan in mind. But I can tell you, everything right now is going really well for Two Phils. It doesn't matter the location of where the race is. The horse is doing good. Go out there and get the money and then start looking to the next race.
And where are they pointing after the Ohio Derby, as far as you know?
He hasn't even said. He said he's going to take it one race at a time, see how the horse comes out of it. He said the one thing that's been really good is, okay, you had the really big race in the Jeff Ruby Stakes, which was on synthetic, but then you had a really big race in the Kentucky Derby, which was on dirt. So he's not too worried about surface-wise between synthetic or dirt or whatever's going to show up down the road there. He's just going to see how the horse comes out of it race by race and then just go from there. And again, do what's best for the racehorse. It doesn't have to be the marquee race. It's just got to be the race that works for the racehorse that you can win.
Great. And last question, Jim, and I hope you don't mind me ask this.
No.
I've had people personally ask me this in the Chicago area outside the casino situation with Hawthorne. Feel free to say nothing or speak for 2 minutes. Give us a little bit of an update on what's happening.
I wish I could say something, but I can't.
Okay.
So,
there you go.
But
it's in the works.
Yeah, well, and the reason why is I'm so focused on racing that I'm not really involved.
Sure,
in
and I apologize. I don't want to put you.
No, I don't. Oh, I don't mind at all. But it truly is. I mean, I have so much focus on racing between the racing, and I'm the treasurer of the United States Trotting Association, the president of the Racing Industry Charitable Foundation, that I do a lot that I don't even get involved in those discussions. So it's going to be kind of one of those things where they're going to come to me one day and say, "Hey, we're ready to roll," and I'm going to be like, "Yay!" and let's go.
All right, I will not be asking the casino question.
That's fine.
Those of you at home that I got a few very nice emails. People that support a Hawthorne, like, man, we can't wait to get this casino started. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I'll just throw it to Jim and see what he says. But yeah. Jim's got his hand.
You can always ask.
And two kids and travel baseball and a daughter that's going to be going to college soon and et cetera. So
no worries.
Pretty busy. Jim, happy Father's Day.
Thank you.
You deserve it, buddy. I know you do a great job with your kids and, of course, with Hawthorne Racecourse. I can't wait. You'll be at the next week. You'll be at the Invite, I'm assuming.
I will not. I'm going to be at Hawthorne because it's Hawthorne Derby Day. So I'll be there. Oh. Emily's going to be at the Invite. Ed DeRosa is actually going to come into town and host with her.
Whoa, big time Ed. I saw him at the Kentucky Derby. All right.
Yeah. So Ed's going to come out there. I'm going to be holding down the fort on site at Hawthorne. We have 31 nominations for the Hawthorne Derby. So we're looking to have a very good race. That's the final race of the Horse Players Invitational. So you have to bet $750 on it. I would love to put a field of 12 in the gate for you.
Speaking Scout, won last year.
How about that? And then wins a grade 1.
Mile and eighth, is that correct? Is that the distance?
Mile and eighth.
For restricted 3-year-olds. Wow. Yep. Do we have a purse on that? Do you know?
$100,000. Yep.
Beautiful. All right, Jim. I look forward to crushing that last race, and we'll have a beverage after the races. How's that? We'll meet.
You got it. That works.
All right. For my fantastic co-host Pete Visco and Paul Halloran, and the director of racing at Hawthorne Racecourse, Mr. Jim Miller. This has been your host Howard Kravitz, episode 267 of the HHH Racing Podcast. Crush those bets at Monmouth Park Saturday and Hawthorne Racecourse on Sunday. Take care, everyone. Happy Father's Day. Have a great night. Bye-bye.
If you have not followed his Triple H Horse Racing Podcast, you're missing out. It's one of the best podcasts in the country.